I can't believe it, but I am about to take you guys on the last garden tour of the year. Yikes, that feels so sad. Hi, you guys. This is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B. I am in coastal North Carolina at the bottom of the state. I remember when the gardening season started and I took you on the first tour back probably in April, and my wisteria was in gorgeous bloom and I thought, yes, this is the kickoff. It's so exciting. And now, yeah, I feel sad that we're coming to a close. If you do like the kind of content that I provide, I would like to invite you to please subscribe to my channel so that we can ensure that my content continues to show up in your feed. I'm sitting on my blue gardening bench right now, which was a thrifted item, and I like to change out the display of plants that are on it. All of these little goodies are going to be going away because our temperature is going to start dipping tonight, and I don't think we're coming back from it. So it's time to be overwintering whatever is necessary, and I want to show you how things are looking outside, not just potted plants, but let's take a tour all around, see all the goodies and all the beauty. Now, some of the things that are sitting right here next to me, these are the things I wanted to start with. Like my pot of Dipladenia with the creeping Jenny coming out of it. You've seen it all summer long. It has been mostly living next to my pool, and it's been amazing. A lot of you have asked about how much I fertilize or how I get it looking so good. And I want to say this about the Dipladenia. You know, it's one of my favorites, but its long blooming flowers are like part of its nature. I haven't had to do much to this red variety at all. And we'll see some others that I have by the pool as well. Same sort of deal. They've been drought tolerant, they've been heat tolerant, and this lasting beauty just hasn't dulled. Now, I have also tried a yellow variety and white. Neither one of them performed as well as the red. So that's something to keep in mind. Here's another little thing. As I'm thinking about overwintering, I have a greenhouse, and I've talked to you about the fact that I need to replace the ceiling panels of the greenhouse because after 2 seasons, the ceiling panels have completely deteriorated. Well, they are on order. I've ordered them from somewhere, and not Harbor Freight replacement where I got the greenhouse because the price was insane, but instead we ordered them somewhere, and unfortunately they take time to come in. So it's not that I've procrastinated getting my greenhouse together, but I'm going to have to move babies like this inside my house first before I can start filling up the greenhouse. So that will be coming at a later date. So Dipladenia, you see it outside now, but he's moving inside this afternoon. Another one is my Kalanchoe. Now, this gorgeous baby, which is a succulent style plant, and you can see, I think it's called like flapjack or something like that, some kind of pancake. Wait, let's see, do I have you on here? Nope, it just says Kalanchoe on this part of it. This guy is also going to move inside because it does not tolerate these temperature drops. Here's a little goodie for you though. First of all, supposedly I can clip off these leaves and have them root in soil. I've never done it. I'm not sure if I'm going to try that, but what I am going to try is, do you see I have this little plant as a pup growing off to the side? Oh, I'm going to clip that off, and I'm going to try to put that into another pot because who wouldn't want more of this gorgeous plant? Okay, so that's the Kalanchoe. And speaking of things like that, clipping things off and having them grow for you again. All right, so we're going to talk right here about this cabbage. Now, if you have ever had decorative cabbage, you may have noticed, let me move the camera. If you have had decorative cabbage in your landscape, then this is something I'm sure you've experienced. You have the beautiful head of cabbage up at the top, but as the leaves die, they die from the bottom and they turn brown, they're falling off, and then you're left with a lot of stalk and then just the head of cabbage up at the top. Do you understand? Okay. That same thing happened to me. Now, I had this exact decorative cabbage in this pot. The leaves started to die, they'd fall off, and then eventually I had just the top here and all this extra stalk. I never did anything with cabbage before, so what I did was cut the stalk, and then all of this leafing out started to happen. So all I did was take off that remaining head of cabbage and all of this started to happen. So what this is looking like to me on closer examination is I have multiple heads of cabbage here. So I'm also going to try to separate, like here's a head, here's a head. I'm gonna separate these and see if I can pot those up and have multiple decorative cabbages, because that would also be awesome. So let's continue on with the tour. So if my blue bench is back here, that's where we just started. Now we're just going to take a tour around the landscape. So I'm going to be behind the camera a bit and pointing out some of the things that I just, feel like are important to show you. Begonias, these were the ones that were my mom's. I brought this pot home from New York, so that has to be brought inside so I can overwinter it. It didn't really get over all of its frost damage from her house, but again, I'm going to try to keep it alive this winter for her. The golden sword yucca, something I talk about all the time as being a fabulous decorative piece for the garden, evergreen, and just awesome foliage. Of course, my hostas are dying back. I will have to clip them back, but that's okay. More begonias. These are the ones that I was showing you how you can propagate them yourselves just from cuttings. And I have them rooting in my bathroom tub right now. Some other gorgeousness going on, as well as some other dying things. No biggie either way. Actually, as I get to this spot right here, one thing I should point out is that this is some Dianthus that is just the evergreen foliage at this point, but I passed right by another Dianthus without even saying a thing about it. So let me just take a step back and show you that while this guy has suffered a bit this year from the different weather conditions, we still have some blooms happening and still some foliage that's looking good. Other parts, are a little dead, and I just want to clip those back to have it be able to pop back out again, but that's pretty cool. So back to the garden bench again, showed you that. This is the oleander that I had rooted from a cutting from my oleander plant. And even though I got these guys off once before, oh my gosh, I hate aphids so much. So I need to treat this again. I'm not sure if I should plant this in the ground or if I should overwinter it and plant it next spring. So we're gonna see about that. I do have an ice plant that's looking really good in this pot, so I'm happy about that. He seems to be doing better now than he did all summer. So here I want to take you to my poolside gardens because you need to get a far away look from it so you can just kind of see that things are really still happening here. I have my Bengal tiger canna lilies still popping out with new blooms, again after the horrid nightmare I had with those, with the leaf rollers destroying them. Here's the other red Dipladenia inside the waterfall. You can see the waterfall's just looking gorgeous. Canna lilies stay in the ground. I don't need to dig up the tubers or anything, so they'll die back, but that's fine. Whereas the Dipladenia I am taking out, so same deal. They got to come out of the waterfall before all these temperature dips just kill those, because they are tropical beauties. My oleander that's right here, this is the one that I just showed you the propagation of. Now I don't have the aphids on the main plant over here, just it wants to attack the baby over there. This one we still have some blooms, as you can see, and it's a gorgeous view as I look from my house out to this direction to see that pink there. It makes me happy, but certainly I have some leaves that are turning yellow that are falling off. I also do have a tropical hibiscus right here that's got pink blooms on it, so that was just coincidental that I had planted those two things next to each other for that color. And of course my aqua blue flamingo, we're gonna miss him because he's gonna go away for the winter. But again, just an overall big view while my banana tree leaves are still up. I just wanted to show you how things were over here. Some blanket flowers still in bloom. Ugh, man, this is my huge mangave. I'm gonna leave them out. I'm gonna leave them out for the winter and we're gonna see what happens. The entrance to the secret garden is also, it's okay. It's a little bit sad at the moment. Things had already been changing as I was taking some other potted plants out from the display area. I have still some Dianthus here that's been blooming on and off for the whole year, and it's still blooming, so at least that's good. But like these canna lilies, these are the red variegated ones. They suffered so much from those leaf rollers, so they had to be kept getting clipped back and clipped back. So they're looking a little bit sad. You know, of course, my elephant ears, which were so huge one time over the summer, oh my gosh, everything is starting to go back there. And of course, the yellowing leaves on the banana trees. This is all part of the natural progression, but again, it is a little sad. Simply walking down the path of the secret garden, we can see things like the caladiums, for some reason, completely petering out already. There's still some canna lilies that weren't completely clipped back, even though the leaves had been damaged. But the cannas, these elephant ears are maybe a little bit more protected along the fence here, so we still have some big ones over here and they're still looking pretty decent. These caladiums are still going, but again, they're not going tremendously strong. So we're gonna see what we're gonna do about that. But of course, the lemon coral sedum, oh my gosh, everywhere I put that, it just looks outstanding. So it's spreading, it is a ground cover. That is going to stay evergreen for me. I have some polka dotted plant, which I have now, seeds have spread everywhere. So I have some in my ground. I have, oh my gosh, lots of polka dot plant at this point. I have daylilies that of course aren't in bloom, but the foliage still looks decent. Just more cannas, but this, oh my goodness. My pot of geraniums in my little fishy planter, I think looks more healthy now and more vibrant than it did all summer. So I'll be taking this fishy planter inside. Geraniums are a little bit tougher. They can handle some of the weather. So here's the end of the secret garden, and this is just where I had the little bistro table. We've cleared this out so that we can be taking this chicken wire off of the outside of the greenhouse so we can replace any panels that need replacing on the inside. So that we just had the chicken wire secured with these posts. We've been in this area a lot together this year. So my grove of banana trees, this is the biggest grove I have. My huge pot with the purple heart and the cordyline. So this is the biggest pot of purple heart that I have. And then of course my pathway around to the front of the greenhouse. So the chicken wire, if you don't remember, we had put this over the whole, from the side, this side of the greenhouse on the ground, all the way over the roof, and it goes down the other side as well as the back side. We did that because the greenhouse panels are not secure enough in the framing that they come with. Just by design, when we get a strong wind, those panels want to blow out. So year number one of having the greenhouse and having to chase my greenhouse panels into my neighbor's yard and all over the place because they take off like a little sail, it was awful. And we were trying to come up with another way to secure the panels in place. Well, the chicken wire was it. It is disguised enough that you can't tell from afar that we even have this on here. And anytime the panels wanted to blow inside of their framework, they couldn't actually exit the premises. So we've kept the chicken wire on there. As I said, we've had the greenhouse for 2 full years. This is going to be our 3rd winter with it, but it's the ceiling panels that are 100% deteriorated. So they are completely cracked, and I think that is almost completely due to the sun, not really the wind. And like I said, we have ordered the panels. Oh my gosh, you guys, we're going to cut them down to size. And while they are more affordable to get, I think my husband ended up finding them on a shop on Amazon. They're more affordable than Harbor Freight themselves, but it is not cheap. We've spent hundreds of dollars on 12 panels for the ceiling. Meanwhile, the entire greenhouse by itself had cost $1,000. So it doesn't really seem great Nevertheless, this is where we are, and I've saved a lot of money over the past 2 years and will continue to do so, being able to store some sensitive plants inside the greenhouse. So I don't regret owning it, but just don't think that if you buy a greenhouse for $1,000, it's going to be completely ready and awesome and perfect, because unfortunately, that's not the case. So my sweetie pie tropical hibiscus braided tree is going to have to be moved inside the house temporarily. And now this guy, the cordyline and purple heart, I have stored in the greenhouse previously. This pot is so big and heavy, I may just have to cover him up if I can't get the greenhouse panels in place before severe temperature drop. So of course my little pilings, you know, looking awesome. I had mentioned previously about the orange, like, dying foliage inside of my arborvitae trees, which I always just think of as part of the life cycle of the trees. So they don't look so great when you see it that way, but they've been here for a number of years, and that seems to happen each year. Now, of course, over here, I always talk about the dragon's breath celosia, but it's still looking good. However, what I'm going to do before it suffers from a temperature drop is actually clip some of it and dry it so I can use it for arrangements inside the house. So then we have just my daylily foliage, my new Mexican sage that I got on that clearance sale. And then this is more of the purple heart that is extending and flowering and feeling great about itself. And I also have the cascading sedum down below. So that is, I believe that stays perfect for the winter. So we're about to find out because I can't remember right now. So here's something else that is going to have to overwinter inside the greenhouse. And this is the thing that I can never remember how to pronounce the name. Yeah, the spike Draciana, whatever, that right there, you know, you feel me. Now, if you take a step back from the rock garden, things look pretty good, but it's when you're looking up close, you can tell how things are coming to an end. Obviously, the hostas here, my phlox is browning up right there. These begonias will have to overwinter inside. I actually have some creeping moss phlox back there between those rocks. That little section that is with the pink blooms, somehow looking good. I have the Croton Petra here that I'm going to move inside. We don't have a lot of colorful leaves on it at the moment, but that's been with me for a couple years. I do have my verbena. This is like the Twisted Pink Lanai, I think this one is called. So this has quite a few blooms on it, I would say. So we're about to find out what happens to this variety over the winter as well. But from what I hear from my neighbors, they all have their verbena come back for them. So it should be a perennial for me. My dahlias are still pushing out a few new buds, but I don't know what's going to happen with these either as the temperature drops, because of course we're seeing this all slow down. My blanket flowers though, yep, they're just going strong and looking amazing. Time to say goodbye to my ladyhead planter for now. My drift roses in the background there also look better than they have in a bit. Whereas, of course, my wisteria is completely losing all of its leaves. I love the tangled mess that a vine has. Like, it's so, I don't know, artistic and fun. I really like vines. So I might use some of the vines for some winter projects as well. And look at this gorgeous Dianthus. This is the same one that was in the planter at the very start of the secret garden. And that looks great. Back here is my Yuletide camellia. And this is a cold weather bloomer. This is the first year I had it. I bought it last fall or winter, so the first time it's blooming for me like this. It's hard to tell in this light, but we do have iridescent leaves on this plant. So very fun. And of course you can see there's bee activity, so makes them happy as well. So that's more or less the backyard. So we're actually going to exit the backyard here and we're gonna head out to the island of misfit toys first and then do a wrap around the front. So I have my holly and I have my Anna's magic balls out here. I have the yellow liriope. These are 2 agaves that I got from a plant share, as well as 3 azaleas that I got from my neighbor. So again, we're keeping in mind that the Island of Misfit Toys is transplants, garden shares, clearance items. Now, oh look it, I see lots and lots of bees over here too. These drift roses are looking really good. I don't want to scare all the bees away. But so that's really nice to see. Then over here I have some of the junipers that I purchased on clearance. We have some little poofs of the creeping moss phlox, which hopefully takes over as more of a ground cover this upcoming year. These are my cosmos, my ditch cosmos, as I'd like to say right now, that rooted themselves in here in a discard pile. These are the hostas that I had planted, hoping that they would do well, even though they got sun here because they were next to the water drainage ditch. They did okay. They have a bounce back, but they didn't do excellently this year. These cannas, they're okay. A little bit of a bounce back since the worms. The lemon coral sedum, more junipers. So we got 3 of those there. The crocosmia from my sister that you all helped me name. And the other golden sword yucca. These are the remaining canna lilies that I had along the ditch line, hoping that they were going to love their environment. Not really. So I haven't moved all of those yet, although any canna lilies I have up the hill were originally down there. So the magnolia tree here is kind of like the ending point of where the Island of Misfit Toys extends this way along the fence line, whereas the Peninsula garden extends in front of the magnolia tree this way. So that's kind of how I've made all of that work. And of course, none of these flower beds were here when I bought this property. So everything has been a work in progress and happens little by little. But the Peninsula garden was here first. And then the Island of Misfit Toys has just been coming into play as I get these divisions from my gardens or other people's gardens, etc. And I didn't have anywhere to put them necessarily. And now it's starting to turn out to be, well, less of an island of misfits. It's starting to gain some shape, but I don't think it can lose its fun nickname because it's been great. Hopefully from this perspective, you can actually see some of the things that are looking great in the Peninsula garden for now. So I do have my guara right here. This is the one that's got the blooms that kind of look like butterflies, like traipsing over the foliage. I have canna lilies, again, some things that just kind of bounce back. So my red canna, my coral colored canna. And then of course, as we head in this direction, you see all the mass of blanket flowers that's giving me fabulous color right now. So there's a lot of gorgeous things that are still in here for now, and we're just gonna kind of see how it all plays out over the course of this next month, which again, going down with that temperature dip. So there's those cannas I was talking about, the massive sea of blanket flowers. And I see lots of bees in the blanket flowers as well. So I'm going to try to not to disturb them. Back there, I have the Denver Daisy Rudbeckia. Man, that still looks really good too. I really like the nice large size of those flower blooms. I have more verbena down here. Not a lot of blooms on it, not a lot of blooms at all, but this is the purple one that wants to come right the heck out of the garden. So we're gonna see what we're gonna do about that. But I have some of the garden mums, some other Dianthus right here. Lots more blanket flowers. Of course, my gorgeous double scoop raspberry echinacea, making a nice little comeback right there. More garden mums. Okay, here we go. This is exactly what I was talking about with the decorative cabbage. You have the gorgeous head of cabbage up at the top, but you start losing the leaves heading down till you get this stem. So this is just the leaf drop that happens as the bottom dries out. This is what I did. Clip right there on the stalk, and then the entire stalk began to leaf out. That's what I was showing you in the backyard. Look how gorgeous the golden sword yucca is here. Yes, I do have a lot of those because they make pups and I can divide and move. But man, that is a standout feature plant. And actually, as we back up to the front of the garden, you're going to see yet another right here. The plumes on the zebra grasses are looking great, seasonal and amazing. So of course, this is the garden easel that my dad and I built together using the wood from his house, if you remember that. So my sweet potato vines still good, Dipladenia still good. Mums, of course, they're on their way out. That's how most of my mums are looking right now. They were once yellow, just like this one yellow bloom right here. But that's okay. Seasons change, and this is changing too. Now, the nice thing again about the garden easel is I can take this pot and store those plants indoors. So looking from the easel, I have the strawberry Sunday hydrangea underneath it. It is bouncing back nicely after the deer completely ate it down. Of course, no flowers on it, but that's okay. At least I think it's alive. And then I have more dragon's breath and the sweet potato vines in a pot arrangement that I had done before. This sweet potato vine here, along with the Moses in the cradle or the oyster plant, this completely has to come indoors. But this, as I said, sweet potato vine, easy to root. So let's save as much of it as we possibly can. So we've trimmed some bushes. You were here with me for that. These are the Vitamums, the only mums that are looking halfway decent in my whole garden. And you know, it's been an interesting thing actually before I get too far. This is the Dianthus that I had mentioned I chose as a border plant this year. And I said in my last garden tour, I wasn't happy with it overall because it didn't stay flowering consistently. And it also didn't get big and bushy. But I actually think it's preferring the cooler temperatures now because I've seen more growth now than I have in a while. So we're just stepping back to see that. So right from the start of the pathway where I had plant arrangements right here on the black and white bench, of course they've had to go away because it's time to be bringing them in. Well, you can see the Dianthus I was just talking about here, but then this was the sweet potato vine that was just touching the ground from the pot that was sitting on the bench, and it just rerooted in there. So just more things to keep. And the lemon coral sedum, again, just beautiful everywhere. So from my sedum, I have another double scoop echinacea here. This one's the bubblegum. So it bounced back with a couple of blooms, but the plant is not as big as it was last year, so that is a bit of a disappointment to me. But I did want to show you this verbena here, because this one is the pink one that I had said stayed blooming for me all winter last year. Same deal as some of these other things I'm saying. It looks better now than it did like all summer. So I have a bunch of it. It's surrounding a hydrangea that I have that was very sick this year, and I don't know if my hydrangea is going to make it. And then here was my pot of Dipladenia to start my front porch off, and I had all the damage to the snake plants from too much water. So I dug out all the problem snake plants that couldn't be saved, and these are the ones that could be saved. Of course, I have a million more snake plants inside the house that I can add to that if I need to for the spring. My lantana, still amazing. You can see the butterfly activity around me. I mean, there are multiple butterflies sitting right here. So I feel good about that it can be this late into November. And not only do I have these flowers here, but that I have pollinators around that are still finding their nectar. Aw. I can't believe that we are ending the garden tour here and ending the garden tour season. Man, does it make me feel sad. The UPS guy just dropped off a package for me at the front door, and I thought, yep, here we are. We're fully getting into holiday season. We're fully getting out of gardening season. But we've had a wonderful year together, and I feel like I have a lot of friends in my audience, and I love that because we just communicate weekly, and it makes me feel so, so thankful. So I'm not going away. I'm still going to be making videos, but unfortunately, I don't think the garden is going to be the star of the show. So we're going to come up with other clever ways to use our plants or our gardens or other things that we have around us to make beautiful things, maybe inside. We're definitely going to keep talking about overwintering and rooting new plants and all of those goodies as well. Thank you so much for watching and for giving me so much support over the time that this channel has been around. I appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so my content can continue to show up in your feed. Thank you again, and until next time, happy planting.